What is up, everyone? It's Monday again, so you know what that means. Another Monday metagame update. And I know I got the baby face going on, but let's talk about standard. We got a new set out, lots of new brews popping up, and a little bit of disappointing news. We'll get into that, but yeah, let's get into it. What is up, everybody? So, before we get into the standard and the tournaments and everything like that, just real quick, if you like my content, if you've been watching for a while, please like and subscribe. It really helps me a lot and helps to grow the channel. Helps me to be motivated to keep, putting out this content for you guys. And also, just want to address it. I shaved, so I know it's a little different of a look. I had a kid, so I wanted to shave because it's a little bit less scratchy for him, and if I doesn't find the beard that enjoyable. So you gotta do things when you're a parent that you don't always want to do, but yeah. Anyway, let's get into it. All right, so looking at Untapped.gg, there's not a whole lot going on with standard best of three and historic. So I'm just gonna briefly gloss over it. But so far, the old decks are still doing very well and really dominant. We do see a few adaptations to things like mono red, adding a few new cards here and there. And there are a couple new decks that have popped up, but none of them are doing that well yet, which is probably because they're not well tuned, and people haven't quite figured out the best builds yet. Wow, it's not showing me this, but yeah, basically, you saw there was like the scoundrel card here and a few other ones. So red is adding a few new cards from the set, but the rest are pretty much the old decks. Same for best of three, except for one new deck, Golgari Midrange, which was showing up here. So that's using this new card here, the Dread Moss Knight, as one of the new ones. It's not loading super well for me, but okay, let's just let it load. So there's a few new cards from the set that the people are trying out. There's a Virtue of Persistence. There's the Dread Moss Knight. And there's this other one that exiles the graveyard. Sentinel of Lost Lore. Okay, Sentinel of Lost Lore. So those are kind of the new cards that got added. And that's about it. So Golgari Midrange is the main one making a splash right now. There is like a Naya Selesnya or Naya tokens deck. There's like two versions of it, but seems to be doing okay. People are doing pretty well with it, but at least on the rank ladder, it hasn't made a big splash yet. So we'll have to see, how things keep progressing and if it gets better or not. But at least for now, the old decks are still the top decks, but it's still really new. I mean, we've had the new set for like less than, I guess maybe exactly a week when this video comes out. So not very much, that's for sure. Yeah, it's just not loading for me, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Same for historic, the tier list, nothing really has changed. Sultai Dredge, Yawgmoth, Goblin, so I think people haven't even really tried the new cards in historic yet, at least not much, not enough to show up on the rankings. So yeah, I think we just gotta wait and see. But there have been a few tournaments that had some interesting results. So there was this really big tournament in Japan, and actually the top three decks were all new decks. I think maybe the tournament's requirements was that you have to use new cards in your deck, something like that. But not every deck was a lot new. There were a few that only had a few new cards. But the top deck here was Naya Tokens. Second place was Golgari Midrange. And then third place, Esper Legends, which we know Esper Legends. But yeah, let's take a look at these decks. So in the Naya Tokens one, so this one is using a couple of the Planeswalkers. You got Questing Druid, Pia Nalar, Monastery Swiftspear, So this is like, yeah, wedding announcement. That's what I was looking for. Virtue of loyalty, these two. So you're making a bunch of tokens. You're also casting stuff from exile, which triggers your PNLR to make more tokens. And your wedding announcement is also an anthem, and so is your virtue of loyalty. It's also an anthem effect, basically. So go super wide in the beginning, pump everything up in the mid to late game, and win the game. So that's what you're trying to do. And this one got first place. So obviously this person did pretty well. I mean, it might be partly the deck. It might be that there's a lot of unknowns, or it could be this player is just a very good player. But at least for now, it's a strong showing. Has potential on the ladder to be very good. And in the early access event, this Pia Nalar card was working really well with a lot of the adventures and things like that. So I think it has, a good chance to be good in this type of shell. Second place was Golgari midrange, so that's similar to the one we saw in the Untapped rankings. You got Mosswood Dread Knight, you got Glissa, of course, Shieldred, the new turtle card, Blossoming Tortoise. Anything else new? Lord Skitter, Sewer King, Virtue of Persistence. Teachings of Caring is an old one, but I guess that's the main thing. So Mosswood Dread Knight, it was the new 2-drop that we needed for Golgari to be good, along with Underdog. And then Turtle, I think, is a little bit of a weird include. Really don't, I guess you're ramping up to your Bloxwain Scorn. It doesn't seem that worth it. So probably this could even be tuned a little bit better. And then Lord Skitter is a good card, so it makes sense. It gives you exile, makes you go wide, etc. I would probably say, yeah, you don't need the turtle. Somebody else could be in the turtle spot. Maybe you don't even need this Virtue of Persistence, Bloxwain Scorn, but I think people are trying new cards, seeing what works, so we'll probably see a change in the future. And then Esper Legends was third place. I don't think it had that many new cards. Let me just double check if there were any new cards. Doesn't really look like it. So third place, old deck. Yeah, nothing new here, it looks like. So, but yeah, the old decks are still doing well. I mean, you can see in this, Esper Legends was third, another Golgari in fourth place, then Demir Tempo. And this one might have some new cards, some of the new fairies or things like that. Halo Forger, yeah, this is a fairies deck, so that's pretty cool. Golgari Ramp with the turtle, and that's mostly it, looks like. What are you ramping to? Gig's Command? Dig up? That's a very strange deck, but somehow it got sixth place. So yeah, check out these tournament results. I mean, it's the first big tournament. It's pretty cool. Lots of new decks, so very interesting for sure, for sure. All right, so looking at the Twitter deck lists, this is the Standard Challenge Top 8 posted by Robert Taylor. I mean, it's hosted by MTGO, but he posts the results. We have some showing of the new cards in the top 4. So top 1 is like a ramp deck using the Bramble Familiar to help ramp out Itali and things like Phyrexian Fleshgorger and Atraxa. Leyline Binding, Virtue of Persistence. So Virtue of Persistence helps you to reanimate these things. And then, so you have some ramping, you have some reanimation, and then you have a lot of big creatures. So somehow, it seems a little bit crazy to me, but somehow this got first place, and they don't really have any threats in the early game. You got the 4 removals from Virtue of Persistence and 1 go for the throat. So early game, they get down the Bramble, they're going to remove a bunch of stuff, and then they're going to try to get to their big creatures or reanimate their big creatures in the late game. And they have Herd Migration also to help them stall and get life, and Vision of Alara. So it's like a 5-color reanimation ramp style deck. So I don't know, a little bit crazy to see this, but they got first place, so I don't know. There must be something here. Then second place, I believe, is just Esper Legends, so nothing really new here. Third place, we see Fairies. So Fairies is making a pretty strong showing. I think once people find the right build of the deck, it will be a real deck. So right now it's doing pretty good. It's not beating the top decks, but it's doing pretty good. So there's definitely something there. And then fourth place, looks like we got another ramp style deck with Bramble Familiar. And this one's a little bit different. It's got a 3-drop Chrome Host Sea Shark and Courier's Briefcase. So this one makes a little bit more sense to me, to be honest. Has a few more ramp cards, but it didn't get first place. It got third place or fourth place. So yeah, interesting to see. A little bit strange, but I like that the new cards are making it into the top 8. So pretty cool. Another one we got here by Brandon Burgess or Butters MTG. Let me just load these real quick while this is going. But he says standard is fire right now, and he's playing a blue-white flash control deck with Virtue of Loyalty, because Virtue of Loyalty is instant speed to create a 2/2, and then later on you can cast it to buff all your creatures. So making a bunch of tokens at instant speed and then buffing them later. Pretty cool. Turn Blind Mice, also another card that is seeing a lot of play. It's pretty powerful in like token style decks. So yeah, it's similar to a deck we had a while back where you make a bunch of tokens and use tempo to kind of beat the opponent. And you might also have Grafted Identity to sack some of your tokens and steal your opponent's creatures. This one doesn't seem to have that, but the concept is still very similar. So that's cool. This one from MTG Joe. He's posting something from the MTG Online Standard League, and it's a Golgari deck. It looks pretty interesting. Lots of Planeswalkers, Glissa, Sunslayer. I think it's similar to the Golgari one that did well in that Japanese tournament. It's using the Mosswood Dread Knights, Lord Skitter, Ashiok, Shieldred. So lots of very powerful mid to late game, and then you finally got some early drops with the Mosswood Dread Knight. So yeah, pretty cool. Mosswood Dread Knight is powerful. I mean, you can see here that it's enabling this new deck basically because that and Underdog are just good 2-drops that you can put down. All right, let's look at the last one, Jack Torrance. He is doing very well on the ladder, 15-3 with a Fairies deck. So I wanted to include that here because there's a lot of big fans of Fairies. Seems like Halo Forger is a good card in Fairies, it turns out, when all your spells are 1s and 2-drops. So Ego Drain, Fairy Fencing, Go for the Throat, Spell Stunner. I guess not Spell Stunner, but the other 3 you can cast off Halo Forger pretty easily. And then the rest are just, your 1-drops and your Fairy Mastermind. So this makes a lot of sense to me. The other fairies didn't seem super good. I think Talion is very good, but Talion is also a 4-drop without flash. So pretty slow. Talion's Messenger, I really don't like it. I know some people are hyped on it, but it feels too slow, and it's also not flash and 3 mana. Like you don't ever want to play it on turn 3 really, because that's the turn you need to do other things. So I like this configuration better. You got your 1-drops to get started, then that enables your other cards. You can flash in Fairy Mastermind, or you can counter or kill something, and then you probably won't play Halo Forger until turn 4 or 5, I would say. And then in a lot of cases, you'll want to just always keep up your flash speed things. And then Invasion of Amonkhet is pretty smart as well. If somebody kills one of your early fairies, or kills your Fairy Mastermind or something like that, like you can get your little guys in, swing a few times, take down the Invasion of Amonkhet, get your stuff back, and it gives you a lot of value just playing it as well. So very cool stuff. Really love the list, so I might have to try this one out. This one's really sweet. All right, and then last one, Ash Lizzle made a video and she posted it on Twitter, but it's a Golgari food deck, and uses Sir Ginger, Ginger Brew, and Welcome to Sweet Tooth is one of the biggest ones, along with Tough Cookie. And then she has Agatha's Cauldron as well to, I believe, discount your Tough Cookie abilities in some way. I kind of forget the combo. She had some combo she was doing. But either way, food, lots of food stuff. Your Sword Ginger is going to get bigger the more your foods get sacked, and your Welcome to Sweet Tooth is going to pump your guys insane amounts since almost all your creatures are also foods. So yeah, pretty sweet brew, and she was doing very well with it. So if you want to try something completely new and you know, a little bit fun, then check out this deck. All right, yeah, that's gonna be it for the Monday metagame update. My thoughts so far on the set is that yeah, I think it made more of an impact than I thought, but you know, the old decks are still very good. We'll have to see if they ever get pushed out. I don't really think so. I still think black deck, like black shielded decks, are going to be really good, and the mono white or white based aggro still very very good. So those are probably still the top decks, but fairies and Golgari are both have a very strong showing. So good chance that those decks are real and are going to see some play. All right. Yeah, that's it. So I hope you have some fun out there on the ladder. Until next time, see ya.